The obvious cause of suffering is the nervous system. There are children every now and then that are born without pain receptors. And so the parents have to take them into the doctor constantly because there's no warning system. Pain is the warning system that something's wrong. So they break their arm and they don't feel it, they get an infection, they don't feel it. So it's nerve-wracking for the parents in that you incorporate into your life a regular visit. Just check it. Make sure it's okay. So in some ways we could blame physical pain on the fact that our nervous system, warning system is working. The organism is danger. And since all organisms want to stay alive, it's a useful system. Now, of course, pain is something that we all have to deal with in different degrees, and it's actually a fascinating thing in that I don't know what anyone else's pain feels like. I can pretend I do poetically, I can imagine I do, but if you stub your toe, I might have a small mirror neuron reaction, but I'm not going to feel it as intensely as you are. I'll feel empathy more so than the actual sensation. So a lot of suffering is mental narration. We all deal with physical pain the best we can. Mental narration is the rest of it. How am I telling the story about what's going on here? And in some ways, not to oversimplify it, but that just comes down to memory. The one thing I can't remember is this. In that I don't know what's about to happen. So like a surfer on a wave, if I stay right here, I'm literally listening to events that have never occurred. I can recognize the sound, like, oh, that's a truck, but if I'm listening to the combination of sounds, like a symphony, I've never heard any of this before. So when it comes to working with our memories and our mental suffering or our mental narration, it's helpful to distinguish the difference between having the ability to categorize the objects of perception and experience them directly without the categorization. In that my interpretation of the world is the only world I know. And the one thing I can't interpret is what is about to happen. It has to happen for me to interpret it. So if I stay in this incredible edge, it's like a razor edge. It's really the only place we live, but memory is very, very convincing. Stay in the razor edge of listening, seeing, feeling, sensing, experiencing, without interpreting. Then you could say that I, as the narrator, disappear. And then all of the senses and sights and colors and experiences and smells and tastes, they happen. There's no way to talk about it without it being inaccurate. They happen, period. So the tension in the nervous system, why you could say why we don't feel satisfaction just sitting and listening most of the time, although many of us do, is that we're still living out in the nervous system the narration from the past. And there's no real way around that. You know, we could try to bypass it through spiritual beliefs, but the body's a reality, and when the memories are extrapolated and viewed and compassionately looked at, and that vulnerability and rawness is allowed, then the physical body begins to change. Tensions in the body change. Ailments in the body change. Not necessarily completely, it's not hope. If I forgive my mother, my cancer will go away. That's tricky. But that sort of overall muscle tension that may exist can be relaxed. You think of a kid when it's walking, it's spongy and it's loose. I met a 50-year-old man recently who lost many of his memories, and he had that same sponginess. He was strong and he was large, but he had that same real loose sponginess because there weren't many memories in there. So a lot of suffering is how the story's being told and how it's been stored. How did I store the traumas of childhood? How did I store the innocent narration of what was going on? All of the moments where it's like, I'm in danger, 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 I'm in danger. So it's not just letters and language, it's the whole thing. And this is where any kind of investigative practice about the truth of the events of the past, and by that I just mean the ability to see that it happened the way it did, and that's it. It doesn't have any meaning about anything about me when I look at it clearly, in the same way that if I shut up, all of these things I cannot remember that are happening, the conversation, the bird, all of it, don't mean anything about me unless I say so. So the annoying part of this, for the seeker, and really for all of us, is that it takes time and patience to be willing to be open to the ways that the memories compost and release from the system. And that process can begin at any moment. All it takes is the willingness to admit, I don't actually know what happened. And I don't actually know what is happening. And I definitely don't know what's about to happen. It's a cruel joke, but it's also quite funny, that what I was searching for my whole life was freedom from the story I have been telling about my life. About existence, about others, about freedom from the story. And this is the funny belief inside the conversation that, well, if I find the truth, I'll be okay, I'll be freed from the story. Well, you find the truth, which is this, but that's tricky, it doesn't say much. Then it's like, oh, this is it. And then like a train that just hits a wall, here comes all of those memories. Flying out, sometimes literally in the form of vomit or diarrhea or physical ailment or unexplainable pain and headaches, and here it all comes. The narration of my life, as I thought it was, slams, comes right through the body, says the body. So it's I don't want to say it's bad news, but it's slightly disappointing, probably. I know it was for me, to realize that this really is a process. There's no shortcut, there's no fast food answer. There's no sudden, everything's okay. It's, oh, okay. It's that willingness to be vulnerable and to be patient. This morning I'm on a walk. Couple is arguing. I hear something and then this thought. She's probably just gonna stay with him like all the other dumb bitches. At this investigative space I'm in, wait, why would that even arise? And then the sub core, oh, I'm angry at my mom for staying in a relationship that was unsatisfying. Or that appeared to be unsatisfying. This is, again, I'm only in my own world here in my narration. Oh, angry. And then the compassion is, she's doing her best. And who am I? I'm not in control. Okay. But it's that ability to be vulnerable to the truth, and just to admit it without any shame on either end. You know, whether it's a social end or my own judgment, it's like, this is the truth. I'm 4 years old. I'm 5 years old. I'm 10 years old. I'm 14 years old. Every time I watch someone choose something that was painful, the result was continually painful. Protect yourself. But not my business. So not my business doesn't discredit or quickly wipe away the reality of what I experienced, the way I was narrating it. You know, I like to say, I'm 36, so I've literally lived outside of my parents' house as long as I've lived in it. Almost exactly. So this is actually the first year of my life. You know, you have all of that influence, whoever it is. So it takes that much longer for all of it to compost and release. And they didn't do anything. It's just my own story, over and over and over again. My own desires. So that feels like the good news, is that if you're patient and you're willing to know when you're lying to yourself, and you're willing to be vulnerable and honest and stupid and forgiving and compassionate, then unpacking the memories, the cause of suffering in this moment where nothing's actually wrong, that willingness to unpack all of that does yield a benefit, which is curiosity, fascination, and physical ease, just less tension in the whole system. So sometimes it's easy to hear this as, shit, I got homework. I know that there's sort of promises of the fast food answer and promises of the shortcut. I haven't found that in my experience. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just haven't found it. So I do have homework. And it's to pay attention. If I want the tension to release, if I want the suffering to be alleviated, I have to be willing to put in the effort. And I know it's not a spiritual concept, the idea of effort. I can only share my needs. It does work to be open to whatever these core beliefs and thoughts are that cause this tension. And the reward that I find in that is the ability to sit here on this edge. And listen to all of the things I don't even know are about to happen. Thanks for your time.